Play for the love of the game, man. What's wrong with you, bro? Money should not be a thing. Bro, I'm risking my life. If I get the Rona, guess what happens with that? Like, bro, I'm not playing unless I get mine.
Big news and the big games covered in the Big Ten by the Armchair Quarterbacks all year long.
Third down and about 22. As Smith drops the throw, he's got his tight end open, but he's got Carter downfield, and he's gone. Michigan leads the game with a first touchdown on a bullet, a bomb to Carter, 71 yards. Now State's lead 7-3. There he goes. Go on. Ohio State touchdown. That's that old 1-2 punch. You take two of the first time and let it have it second time. In his career, Lorenzo White 15 times rushed for 100 yards in a half. 5 of those this season. On 2nd and 10. Long throw to Ryson, and he's open all the way to the 6-yard line.
Big Ten football covered in the Southeast by the Armchair Quarterbacks.
This is Jim Rome. Join me in the jungle for your phone calls and the biggest names in sports. Stop by weekdays, noon until 3 Eastern, 9 to noon Pacific.
It all starts with just one thing. Get to know your local beekeeper. You can make sure they don't use chemicals in the hive, that they only sell surplus honey, plus locally produced honeys have a smaller carbon footprint. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Catch the Armchair Quarterbacks right here on CBS Sports Radio. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports, here on the First Coast.
The sun came out today.
Dread running to the post office? Stamps.com brings post office and UPS services right to your computer. Send letters, ship packages, and get up to 40% off USPS and up to 62% off UPS rates. Nearly 1 million small businesses use Stamps.com to save time and money. It's a no-brainer. So skip the post office and visit Stamps.com. Use promo code LISTEN for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. That's Stamps.com, promo code LISTEN.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by The Best Things in Life, which are still free with minimum purchase at participating dealers.
Hi, this is Britney Spears.
What up, this Jay-Z.
This is Jennifer Lopez. Armchair.
It looks like you have to guzzle your juice down without any ice. Pretend it's gin.
What's gin?
Gin is an alcoholic beverage, which if your mommy's strong genes are any indication, you'll eventually learn to love as it slowly destroys a giant portion of your adult life.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
But what the hell, boy?
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
It's morning.
Yes, and what a lovely morning.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's a weird time. There's a hockey team called the Predators. The Nashville Predators. Which in this climate, very ballsy. Because it's actors now, but it's going to be athletes next. And that's going to be a weird press release when they're like, we at the Predators are shocked. This is not what the Predators stand for. We'd like to be known as the alleged Predators, if possible.
Armchair.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. After a reported final round of COVID testing prior to leaving for Tokyo, Team USA golfer Brian DeChambeau will be forced to miss the Summer Olympic Games after testing positive for the virus. Filling in for DeChambeau is Patrick Reed, joining Colin Mariqual, Justin Thomas, and Xander Schauffele to represent Team USA in Tokyo. Team USA released a statement regarding DeChambeau's positive test, a massive blow to the golfer's first invitation to the Olympics. The national team's executive director, Andy Levinson, had this to say, quote, "We're obviously disappointed for Bryson, and we know how much he was looking forward to representing the United States in his first Olympics. But we're thrilled that Patrick Reed is excited to play for his country when he was called upon, even with the strenuous testing protocols, and he is set to arrive just in time to compete on a golf course that he will have never seen prior to the start of the competition." Unquote. Team USA will start swinging for the gold on July 29th. The Houston Texans have acquired wide receiver Anthony Miller in a trade with the Chicago Bears. The Texans and Bears also swapped late-round picks in the trade, which was first reported by the NFL Network. Miller indicated he was changing teams Saturday night on social media, tweeting out, "Houston, let's get it," and "Thank you, Chicago," in separate tweets. The Bears traded up to draft Miller in the second round in 2018, and he led the team with 7 touchdown catches that season. But Miller has caught just 4 touchdowns since 2018. Last year in Chicago, Miller had 49 catches for 485 yards and 2 TDs. About 17 million Americans tuned in to the opening ceremony for the Tokyo Olympics on Friday, according to NBC, but a steep drop-off from previous Olympic game openers. NBC's 17 million figure includes both television and online streaming audiences, as it factors in 2 different airings of the broadcast Friday morning, which was live and then rebroadcast at prime time about 12 hours later. That's a large decrease from previous Olympic Games. The opening ceremony in 2018 for the Winter Olympics at Pyeongchang drew about 28.3 million viewers, roughly around the same time zone. The 2016 Summer Games in Rio de Janeiro netted 26.5 million viewers for its opener. London in 2012 had a record opening ceremony audience of 40.7 million Americans, and the 2008 Games in Beijing estimated around 34.9 million. There are many factors in play. Most experts agree that the threats of protest over the American flag has caused the dip in ratings. We've got a busy day in baseball, and it all gets going at 5:10 Eastern when the Atlanta Braves start a 5-game series against the New York Mets. 5:10 Eastern first pitch at Citi Field will see Kyle Muller versus Marcus Stroman. Second part of that doubleheader has yet to be decided on the starting pitchers, but you can expect the game to begin around 8 o'clock Eastern. At 7 Eastern, we've got a heck of a rivalry brewing. Toronto Blue Jays and Boston Red Sox go head-to-head on ESPN. Nick Pivetta is on the mound for Boston. At 8:05, the Reds, who are suddenly back with life in them, trying to make a run at the Milwaukee Brewers, they're at the Chicago Cubs. Wade Miley and Kyle Hendricks take the bump. At 7:05, Phillies and Nationals, as Philadelphia will send Spencer Howard to the mound, and the Nationals will be fighting to stay in the playoff race these last few weeks. Chicago White Sox are at the Royals. Dallas Keuchel versus Mike Minor, and the Twins and Tigers with Michael Pineda on the mound. Late tonight, you got the Rockies and Angels Shohei Ohtani Day for Los Angeles, and at 10:10 Eastern, the Houston Astros travel to Seattle to collide with the Mariners. And that's your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Stay tuned for the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast. Calling all baseball fans, Yankee fans, Red Sox fans, the Tampa Bay Rays. It's the Catbird Seat, Monday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern, only on Armchair Quarterbacks Show's YouTube Live. We dive into the American League East, point of views of the fans. Teamus and the Red Sox, Angelo and his New York Yankees, and Florida's own Mac McGee's Tampa Bay Rays. It's the Catbird Seat, Monday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern, only on Armchair Quarterbacks Show's YouTube Live. Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. The Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Justin Waller.
Good morning. I don't know much, but I know one thing. We should all feel safer today. The Cleveland Guardians are assembling to protect us from 2022.
Hi, I'm Mac McGee. I don't know much, but I know one thing. The Atlanta Braves. It's do or die, baby. The next 4 days, 5 games in New York. If we stink it up, I don't want to see Braves Nation talking about, well, we got to get a closer. It's too late for all that noise, man. Every man on deck. Let's go. Let's get it. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
It's a little stringy. You have any chicken?
The shrimp is stringy.
Well, maybe your refrigerator.
Quiet! You shut up!
Well,
You make me change restaurant, but nobody come. You say, make Pakistani. Babu Bhat have only Pakistani restaurant. But where are people? You see people? Show me people. There are no people.
You know, I think I'll just take the check.
You bad man. You very, very bad man.
Bad man? Could my mother have been wrong?
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Yeah, howdy, hi, top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. Mac McGee and Justin Waller. Justin, how the hell are you, sir?
Dude, I'm still bumfoozled, man. I'm not allowed any more vacations because when I read the headlines trying to do some show prep last night, it looks like Manfred formed the Cleveland Guardians to protect the Big Ten because, you know, Texas and Oklahoma done fled the Big 12. So I'm trying to figure out what's happening in the world today, and I'm actually excited. Can't wait to talk about what unravels today after our show and fill back in tomorrow. It's going to be a wild day.
Yeah, I'm excited to find out. Well, I think we can go ahead and just Texas and Oklahoma are heading to the SEC. I know they keep saying reports. There's too much smoke for there not to be some fire. The one thing, and I brought this up the other day, that keeps getting lost in this, it's like it's almost just I swear it's almost like they Jeffrey Epsteined him. Isn't that his name? The two heads of the A&M athletic department, when the rumors first started about a week ago, he came out, actually 2 of them came out and said that they were dead against it because it's the reason why they left the Big 12. They wanted to be the only team in the state of Texas in the SEC, but I haven't heard boo about that since. So
I saw a little backstroking and backpedaling by the AD there, saying, "Hey, they'll be prepared for whatever, and they're ready for it." So sounds like Mr. Sankey said, "Hey, when you cash that check, you were in agreements, buddy. Like it's too late now." So, look, I get it. Recruiting wise, they do want to be the only one in Texas, and you know, bringing in the Longhorns really probably will crimp that a little bit. But hey, man, it's all good for the SEC. And I just got to say, I mean, you can't have college kids come play in the Big 12 with 10 members and expect that to go over very well. I mean, it's been a horrible strategy ever since they've lost 2 members that they didn't replace. So shame on them for letting it go that long. It's been dumb.
For the longest time, I screamed this from the rooftops, but now it's too late. Why the hell didn't they go out and get BYU and then grab another, right? It's dumbfounding. BYU has a brand, and they've got a huge following, right? They could, if they would have grabbed BYU a long time ago, maybe some of this could have been. It was probably inevitable that Oklahoma and Texas was going to go somewhere. I don't know if necessarily that it had to be the SEC, but it was most logical. But I think they could have pushed this off for a while if they would have grabbed BYU and maybe someone with some kind of clout. Now they couldn't have grabbed Notre Dame, but I believe that back when all this was first going on, first of all, they let Colorado go. That was a big mistake.
Absolutely.
And the Nebraska thing was a mistake as well. Although Nebraska was hellbound and determined to get out of the Big 12. They didn't want anything to do with it.
Right, but if you look at what happened last season, they're bound and determined to get out of the Big 10. So, I mean, you had ample opportunity with all the COVID shutdowns and everything.
Ass kicked everywhere.
Well, I mean, is the Big 12 going to be much better? I mean,
they're going to be the most West team that plays in the AAC. Isn't that what it's called? The one's got Temple and yes. All the. They're going to somehow try to up their academics and see if they can get into the Ivy League next year. I think we can beat them. I've seen their offensive line. We can beat them. Dude, your grades are terrible. We can beat them on the field. Let's go ahead and dive into the first quarter of the Armchair Quarterbacks, because this is going to take up the entire block, I know. So we're going to go ahead and dive into it, because there's no point in trying to do anything else. By the way, if you're wondering about the Olympics, very quickly, China has a 15-14 lead over the U.S. in the medal department. Japan is third with 11, but USA and Japan lead all with 7 golds. So anyways, have you watched any Olympics at all, by the way?
I have. I've been tuned in. I have them all recording. It's something me and my family enjoy doing, and the event, we like it. Been watching a lot of the rowing, the kayaking, table tennis, just some of the unique stuff, the oddball things that I just think is really unique and awesome.
This morning, canoe slalom was on, and so I've gotten in the habit of trying to get on the treadmill. By the way, down 21 pounds now. So
good job, buddy.
Thank you. Amped up my cardio a little bit, and then also I quit putting cream in my coffee a couple of weeks ago. It takes some getting used to, but I think I'll be okay if my pants start fitting better. 20 pounds is just a drop in the bucket for someone like me. So I'm trying. Don't go, man, that's a lot. No, it really isn't. That just means
when you get our size 20, 30, you don't really notice.
Yeah.
But when you get to the 40 and the 50 pound weight loss, the pant sizes start getting smaller, and you feel like you've accomplished something there.
Yeah, dropping 20 pounds for a guy my size just means that it probably had a lot to do when Coca-Cola pissed me off. I quit drinking Coke products. That's probably been a lot of it too. I bet you that was at least 10 of it. But I'm watching the canoe slalom, and I'm like, what the hell is this? It's because I just see it on the screen. And so I flop it over there. I'm going, oh, this is cool, dude. I could watch this all day. This is awesome. Now, it's not something I would watch like religiously and get ready for the season. Wouldn't have opening day, baby. Let's go. But once every 4 years, I thought it was pretty cool. They got the swimming kicking right now. I'm going to have it on in the background. I did see that the ratings were way down for the opening ceremonies. I think some of that's political. And then the other thing is, I think the glaring is, the outkicks are going to dive into it's political, that they went woke, blah, 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 with the couple of, I'm thinking 3 or 4 of the hundreds of Olympic athletes are talking about protesting, right? I'm not going to hold that against every one of these kids. I think it's more to do with the fact when you talk about when they grab the opening ceremonies, I tried to watch it and I did have it on, so I was countered as watching it. But when you have the opening ceremonies with no fans in the stands, it was hauntingly strange. I can't imagine someone sat there and just watched that for 4 hours. It was terrible. It was 17 million compared to 26 million for the opening 2018 winter. And if you go all the way back before we had all these streaming devices and Netflix and everything in our culture, it was around 40 million in 2010 or 2012. So it's basically over half of it has dropped. But I think a lot of it has to do with no fans, a little bit to do with the protesting, and then also a major big to do with the fact that, I don't know, man, people on vacation, they're more likely to go, hey, you want to watch Netflix? There's going to be like the one guy in the family go, but I want to watch the butterfly event. They were like, shut up, watch it on your phone. So, there's that. All right. So SEC, I'm interested to see where you went. So I want to hear yours first. Where are you putting Oklahoma and Texas, and how does that affect everybody else?
I'm dropping them right into the West where they should be. And I think you need to move Missouri over to the East, and then there you've got 2 stacked divisions. So what that would look like, you would have to move Auburn and Alabama over to the East and slide Missouri over to the West when you add Texas and Oklahoma. And I think Missouri has more natural rivalries in the West. It fits better there. And you get to keep your long traditional games that everybody is upset about. The Alabama-Tennessee would still happen as a divisional game if you slide them over, and you would keep the longest running one in Auburn-Georgia if they slide over to the East. So you have that, plus, Florida would get their wish. They wouldn't have to play the cross division with LSU. So, Mullins-Winen would pay off there, and it would really work. So it's a win-win-win.
Wouldn't LSU still be in the West in your model, or are they coming?
Yes, but it would take away your annual cross division with Florida. I don't think you can have with the 8 teams. You're going to have the rotation, but you still have the problem of Florida Auburn play once a decade, and Georgia A&M I don't think play but every 10, 11 years.
I know, but
I don't have a problem with that. Win your division, and you can line up with somebody in the West in the championship.
And you could still, so if you have 8 teams in each division, you got 7 opponents in your division, right? So that's 7 SEC games. Plus, you could still have your crossover, which is 8, and you could have one that rotates, which is 9. You could go to a 9 SEC schedule, which would make Saban happy. Remember, Saban talked about that 2 or 3 seasons ago, that he thought that they should go to 9 SEC games a year and quit playing, Bumblebutt State and whatnot just as a filler, right? Because that still gives you, I think you're eventually going to get regular season games taken backwards, maybe 1, because when they expand the playoffs, they're going to have to do something at some point. It's not likely, but I think the most sense would be to go down to 11, take it back to the traditional 11 that it was in the 80s and 90s. Because you would have that still clears you for 2 out of conference games if you want to play out of conference games, right?
And if you're bringing in Texas and Oklahoma, do you need out of conference games? Do you not put more butts in the seats and ticket sales if you have the East and West clashing and you go straight up? Let's just have SEC round robin.
If let's say you drop down, well, let's say you play 9 SEC games. Let's say for right now, for argument's sake, it's 12. Total games to 3 out of conference games. You could still have your cupcake for homecoming. Okay. You could still play 2 out of conference games, and one of them could be one that really challenges you, right? You could do an out of conference game that is not necessarily a cupcake, but it's not necessarily. So in other words, Tennessee could play, we'll say Louisiana Tech. Okay. Or even when they're good-ish, Middle Tennessee State or Memphis, but you could still challenge yourself if you want to say, I want to have one game outside of here because we're going to start having all these expanded plays. I want something on my resume, so let's go play. I'm just grabbing a game that they've played in the past. Let's go play UCLA. Let's go play Oregon. Let's go. They played BYU not too long ago. So that's what I think that opens up, because you don't want all your out-of-conference games to be cupcakes, because that's not a very good revenue. Plus, you're going to start blending in. If you go like 8-4, and they're like, yeah, but I went 5-4 in the SEC. Go, yeah, but did you play anyone else? And this team over here we're putting them in because they beat so-and-so out of conference. So you're going to want to challenge yourself a little bit. I'm not saying go crazy, because if you're Tennessee and you've got Georgia, Florida, Auburn, and Alabama on your schedule, plus whatever crossover game they give you, and Tennessee's got bad luck, so I'm just going to assume it's going to be Oklahoma. That's a hell of a resume to begin with. But if you get one more game, and I'm not saying it's one you go, let's go find the best team in the country and play them. Don't go Bobby Bowden about it. I'm saying go a little smarter about it and say, let's go play Pittsburgh next year. Isn't that quarterback leaving? Let's get a brand, but let's make sure that they're not like, a juggernaut when we sign them. Let's look at the futures on the recruiting trail. In other words, wherever Manning's going, let's not sign them up for 4 years. I've got the exact same model. Alabama and Auburn in the East, and Missouri comes west. Did someone else have to slide mathematically? That seems off, but I guess I guess that's right.
No, I played it out a million times. It is right, but yes, I was like, well, I feel like you should have to put another team in the West, but
Right.
it's still 8-8.
Okay. So yeah, I keep thinking that I wrote 2 names down twice or something, which I did at first. I was like, how do I have 9 in the West? And I had Missouri and Mizzou written in my list. I go, no, that's going to be a hell of a battle. So that's how we do that. Now, do you have any suggestions what you do with the other teams in the Big 12 where they might go? And because I went in depth, by the way. So if we don't have a chance to get all today, it's fine.
Honestly, I don't. I see these crumbling up, and I say you're probably going to wind up with 2 or 3 super conferences by the time it's said and done. I think they'll patch it together and try and bring in 2. They'll probably run with 10 teams just since it's a model and with scheduling that they have. Now, who the 2 that they bring in, I'm not quite sure. Maybe
it's already being rumored that West Virginia wants to go to the ACC because geographically it just makes sense. They would be in there with West Virginia, Virginia Tech and Virginia. So, because remember when they signed, we were like, what the hell are they doing in the Big 12?
Now, we thought it would make better sense to give the SEC West Virginia and kick Missouri back. Like, this doesn't even make sense.
I mean, even Big 10 would have made more sense. Big 12 made no sense. Well, if you're going to do that, go ahead and jump in Hawaii's conference while you're at it. I'm going to say that the ACC absorbs them, and then Notre Dame sees the writing on the wall, and they go, Christ almighty, we got to do something, and they jump into the ACC. So that's what I would like to see. And I would bust those divisions up. I know we don't have time to go in depth in this. Maybe we'll look at this later. I'll save this page. But I've got Florida State, Miami, Georgia Tech, Boston College, Wake Forest, Syracuse, Louisville, and Notre Dame all in one division. And then I've got Clemson, North Carolina, Duke, NC State, Virginia, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Pittsburgh in the other division. I hate the fact that I don't have Wake over in the Coastal, but there's just you can't have more teams than one in the other. But I think North Carolina, Duke, and NC State need to be in the same division. It's stupid that they're not right now. And Clemson and Virginia Tech and Pittsburgh and West Virginia, that gives you a chance to have a pretty good title game every year if you've got Florida State, Miami, and Notre Dame on the other side. Plus, there are years where Louisville's really good. There are years where Georgia Tech plays well. Boston College, I'll tell you what, that quarterback at Boston College, people aren't paying attention to him right now. That kid is phenomenal. He's going to do big things. So this is what I did with the Big Ten, Justin. By the way, do you like that Notre Dame, West Virginia going to the ACC?
I do. I mean, that's where I think it forms. I think we end up with 3 or 4 super conferences, and it may be the Big 10 and Big 12 that dissolve, but I'm not sure how it falls out of that. But I think we're going to see a lot of landscape change this next 5 calendar days.
So in the Big 10, this is what I did. I added Kansas State and Kansas. Okay. And Iowa State. So I don't have something written. Oh, and Oklahoma State. I'm sorry. So those are the 4 teams go to the Big 10. So that makes them.
You didn't put them in the East, did you?
No, what I did was I went. So I didn't know what to call these divisions. So I just went Division 1 and Division 2. Division 1 is Penn State, Indiana, Iowa, Minnesota, Purdue, Rutgers, Maryland, Iowa, and Oklahoma State. And then at least Penn State gets on the other side, right? I know geographically may not make sense, but you can't keep putting every football power in the same division. In the second division, I've got Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, and then Nebraska, Illinois, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Kansas, and Kansas State. Now I could be talked into moving, a Nebraska here or Purdue there, whatever. But I was trying to keep them geographical rivalries together. And so then that leaves us with the Big 12. And what I did with the Big 12 is, Pac-12. I've totally busted up the Big 12. The Big 12's no more. The Pac-12, I added TCU and BYU, and that was it. Those were the only 2 teams that come in. But you had TCU from the Big 12, and you add and Baylor, and Texas Tech. 4 teams. TCU, Texas Tech, Baylor, and BYU gives you an even 4 teams, making that a 14-team conference. You get 3 teams from the state of Texas, which would be huge for the whatever they want to call the new league, the Pacific something, and then you also get BYU because BYU needs to be in a big conference, and that's it. Any head scratchers, or I'd put this guy there and that guy there?
No, my only other scenario was if the Big 12 tried to salvage itself, is you go out and pull Nebraska and Colorado and you bring back. But I'm with you. I think it just dissolves. It is no more. I don't know that you make that work unless some of them teams just dissolve into lesser conferences. The only thing I'd like to add to it is just like college basketball, I would like to start see if we do move to these conferences. I want to see some challenges, you know, the ACC Big Ten or SEC Big Ten challenge. I want to see, okay, if you're going to have 4 major power conferences and you're 3 out of conference games, let's do 1 each.
Yeah.
But let's put a caveat in it that you need to go out and
already got
top to bottom one out of each category or 1 out of each conference.
Yeah, you already have some natural ones. Florida State plays Florida every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you. Let Miami play someone in the SEC every year. Have Clemson play someone in the SEC every year. I think that would be the most natural, would be to do a Big 10 Pacific whatever challenge and then an ACC SEC challenge. Because Georgia and Georgia Tech already play each other. I'm sure there's a bunch of South Carolina and Clemson. I'm sorry. I forgot about that one.
You know, this Tennessee, Virginia Tech, or Tennessee and any of Carolina schools could be a good rivalry moving forward.
Tennessee, Virginia Tech, or Tennessee, West Virginia. That would be my vote.
Yeah.
Yeah,
West Virginia. That makes a good one moving in.
That would be fun. That would also need a heightened security with West Virginia and Tennessee fans in the same building every year.
It's going to be a lot of corn liquor.
There's going
to be a lot.
There's going to be a lot of cousin effers.
Hey, now we're keeping the Alabama-Tennessee game. Let's don't pick on them.
This way I can put that. What is your walk-off for the day, sir?
After that, nothing. Let's see what Manfred can ruin today in Major League Baseball. Cleveland Guardians, they didn't get it. Honest opinion.
Stupid.
How stupid? Do you have Gru in his jersey? I mean, how stupid did you go with this?
I'll try to find the video to show what someone says. I see what you did there. It's pretty clever. And they scribble out the first part of Guardians, and if you scribble it out to the very beginning, you actually spell Indians. If you take the back of the U and then Indians, you have the Indians. And I was like, that's clever. That's funny. That's also
what's this mean for the Braves? Are we going to be the rental cops, security guards? I mean, do we have to change our name too now?
I don't know. Me and
the pre-Guardians.
Me and a buddy were joking back and forth the other day, and I said, I'll just take the Crackers. We'll just be the Crackers again, man. Because they actually had a Negro League team called the Atlanta Black Crackers, so they could call them the Crackers.
I'm really disappointed it wasn't the Spotters. I guess that's my walk-off. They had so many opportunities to throw Heritage back to the old game. They could have used that, and I thought that logo was really cool. The spider web inside the sea.
Here's my one, and then we got to run. What about the Cleveland Benders? Chief Bender was the reason why they were called the Indians, and so this has really stolen his entire legacy. No one's ever going to look up and want to know why they were called the Indians ever again, right? He's going to be forgotten. If you call them the Benders, it'd be an homage to him, and your freaking logo could be like a mug of beer or something where I'm going on a bender. It's like,
well, I mean, with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you can put anybody there.
That's gold, Jerry. That's gold.
I agree, sir.
All right, brother. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you.
We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Doug is joining us, and we will see, does he or does he not still have that same crappy lens? We'll be back in a flash.
Oh, yeah? Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
Make contact. A collective psychosis is sweeping the nation. We're in the thick of the haze craze, and Elysian is introducing an altered state of IPA. Contact Haze is a tangled chemistry of mild haze, low bitterness, and an explosion of hop aroma. This hazy IPA bursts with notes of bright raspberry, currant, citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Available in 6-pack cans in stores and in all Seattle Elysian locations. Make contact.
You're riding Morning Shotgun with the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here weekdays, your first choice for sports talk here on the First Coast.
If we actually enjoyed our New Year's resolutions, we'd all have six packs, money in our saving accounts, and we'd know how to play the piano. I have to tell you about the one resolution I actually enjoy. It's Built Bar. It's delicious. Oh, yeah, it's healthy too. Built Bar is healthier than your favorite protein bar. They're low-cal, low sugar, high protein, high fiber, great for the keto diet. Lose or maintain weight while indulging. And with only 4 net carbs and 150 calories, there's no guilt. Visit BuiltBar.com.
This is Sean O'Toole with the Armchair Quarterbacks. Catch me drive time with Mac the Game, the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show, and Facebook Live.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in socially distanced dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
I'm 7-0 this season.
You auto-drafted.
That's what all the great GMs do. They delegate.
You didn't do anything.
Yeah, I did. I set the cue.
Without fantasy football, what would friends talk about?
I almost wore shorts today.
Oh.
I was going to do a sweatshirt shorts combo. Switched to pants instead.
Armchair.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up, there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
You're listening to CBS Sports Radio. We are all sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Strong opinions and your phone calls. Expect it here. CBS Sports Radio.
See, now to me, that button's in the worst possible spot. The second button literally makes or breaks the shirt. Look at it. It's too high. It's in no man's land. You look like you live with your mother.
Good morning. Welcome back. And Doug has a brand new screen of some sort.
I can't hear you.
It was so shocking that the music
Volume.
What's that? Hello, Doug. Can you hear me? All right. So Doug's having an issue with his let me see if we can
I can hear you now.
Okay. I don't know what happened. I'm assuming everyone else could hear me, but who the hell knows? This is what happens when you're the producer and everything else. So anyways, hopefully someone will chime in and say, yeah, I can hear you, you annoying bastard. And then we'll be able to go from there. All right, Doug, let's go ahead and dive into before we get into the fantasy football. Let's do DFS first, and then year long starting to wind down. I got some stuff that I want to throw out at you, but the DFS today so it's kind of a short slate, so that part kind of sucks. But we're looking at and you and I will have the most difficult task when football season gets here, doing DFS on Mondays. Trying to figure out what the hell are we doing. I guess we'll be looking at the Monday Thursday slate, because they do that with fantasy football. They do where you can pick the Monday game and the Thursday game and kind of do a double dip. I play a lot of those. Those are a lot of fun. So I guess that's where we'll be at. But today, I believe there's only one slate. I don't see an early slate versus a late slate. The first game today, I believe, is the Atlanta Braves game, one at 5:00, and then they'll all play tonight. We don't have a whole lot of games. There's about a half dozen somewhere in that area. Is there one pitcher that you're like, all right, this is the guy I'm going with? What say you?
One I'm definitely going with is Louis Garcia with Houston.
Okay.
That's one pickup I'm going to make. I mean, he's averaging 20 fantasy points a season. I just, and I like his matchup. So that's somebody I'm going to put on that I'm going to have.
So 10,400, you're willing to spend that for Garcia?
Yeah, just because there's a low slate of games. Now, if you ask me if I have a like a cheap pick or somebody a little bit deeper, then I would take Dallas Keuchel at 7,500 against what you call it. Dallas Keuchel is like my little cheap pick of the day. If you wanted to stack up on batters, that is.
Now, if there's one guy that I think could be a sneaky good start today, it's actually your boy, Wade Miley, going up against the Cubs in Chicago. To me, that's going to be a pretty favorable game. He pitched really well the last time out, by the way. And I'm a big fan of grabbing guys when they're hot. But if the expenso guy that I'm going today, I think I'd go Ohtani. It's Ohtani Day in LA, and he's at home against Colorado. He's 9,200, so you save some money with him. So I think that's where I would go. And then my second guy, I would probably, if I don't go him, if I'm trying to get super cheap somewhere, there's not a very good choice at the bottom. I mean, you can take a stab at something, but I'm not throwing Hatch out up against Boston. Get the hell out of here. So if I'm going to do something like that, I mean, maybe you catch lightning in a bottle with Mike Minor, but he's going against the White Sox, and that offense is really good. I think I'm going to go Wade Miley. Even though it's in Chicago, it's a night game. The ball doesn't tend to fly out as much at night as it does during the day. What offense are you stacking?
I'm stacking the White Sox against the Royals, especially with Mike Minor pitching. You just mentioned the Royals are 26-7 against left-handed pitching so far this entire season, and with Jimenez being your designated hitter tonight, yeah, I'm going to take the White Sox. I think that's the easiest pick.
Now, the big news that happened last night was Adam Frazier gets traded to the Red. Adam Frazier.
I wish.
Yeah, you wish. Adam Frazier gets traded to the Padres, and they haven't disclosed all what they're getting back, but that's not really important for our comments. Frazier's going to a team that already has a second baseman. Cronenworth plays second base there every day. So I'm curious to see. Now, they didn't make a trade for Frazier to sit him on the bench. The guy leads the National League in hits. But I'm curious to see what they do with him and what that could mean for Cronenworth. Or are they going to start benching some guys in the outfield? Are they going to start trying to keep them fresh because they know the playoffs are coming and they know they're probably not going to catch the Giants, but no one's catching them in the wild card? What say you? What is your best guess with that?
My best guess is you're going to start seeing him. They're going to rotate that outfield. That's my best guess. Right off the cuff after hearing it, that would be my best guess. I mean, if you look
it really is a shame that the White Sox didn't step up and do it. I really think the White Sox, we've been talking about this on the neighborhood play for well over a month. That's the guy that the White Sox needed. I'm really shocked that they didn't go get him.
Yeah. I agree there too. That's why it caught me off guard.
What's the next big move? What's the next big player that goes this week?
Ooh. Can't think off the top of my head. This is more of a hope on my part, but I'm hoping that the Reds go out and reach out for a decent reliever like a Rodriguez or something. That would be big for me. May not be big for the rest of baseball, but for me as a Reds fan, I like to see them get really busy this week.
I think the next guy, next big name to go is Chris Bryant. I think he's the first of the Cubs that goes. I'd be shocked if it's someone prior to him because I think they're going to hold on to the last minute with Kimbrel because Kimbrel, they're going to try to get a Lions haul. But I think they're willing to get rid of Bryant. Their handwriting's been on the wall. So that's my next best guess would be Chris Bryant leaving Chicago. Now, the Padres have been aggressive. They get out there and they get them early. These teams who want these players in these arm races, they're going to have to get on the stick and not wait till 4:00 on Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all there is to it. You cannot sit there and wait until the last dog is dead because these players might be gone. That's why when we talk about DFS, I wouldn't even pick him up tonight. It's because I don't know if he's going to make the field. I don't want any Cubs because I don't know if they're going to. I mean, I would start a Patrick Wisdom because I know they're not trading him. But I'm talking about if any of the four big names that are still there that are hard, or you can easily arguably 5 or 6 guys that they could trade. I don't want any part of it. Byron Buxton would be another one. That's another one. He turned down an extension last week that kind of went under the radar. He turned down an extension that they offered him a 7-year, $80 million extension. And he said, I can get that. I can get better than that on the market. He's a free agent at the end of next year. I don't blame the Twins for doing that. Because you make it known that you tried to sign him, but that's not a legitimate contract for a guy with his ceiling. But you also know, because he's been in your organization for years, that he is not someone you can count on long-term, and I would not sign Byron Buxton to a long-term deal. If I'm a free agent, signing with Byron Buxton, let's say he has a solid year again next year, I'm at the most offering him a 3-year deal, maybe 4. But he sees the Mookie Betts contract and goes, I don't want no $80 million. You could end up like some of these other clowns who turn stuff down. You're like, man, I should have took that $80 million when I had the chance. But I get it. That's only around 11 a year. And for a guy who has a high ceiling, he can probably get 15 to 20 a year. Possibly if he has a really good year next year for at least 3 years. So he's probably looking, look, I'll go out and sign a 3-year 50, 4-year 60, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll make up the rest down the road. He also might be saying, I don't want to live in Minnesota. What the hell, man? It's colder than hell up here. Okay. Moving on from that, your year-long teams. Your terrible year-long teams that you have that are just absolute trash.
Oh, do we have to talk about it?
Let's talk about the one where me and you going head-to-head in the Dynasty League where I'm 13-2 and you're 8-7. But I will say this, you got a decent chance to win this week. I have in my starting, I'm not talking about the IL like your IL list. I'm talking about on my actual roster that's taking up spaces. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys on the IL. I'm not dropping them because I'm going to make the playoffs, so I'm not going to like make some big dash to try to beat you. I'll put my best foot forward and we'll go from there. But I mean, every time I turn, and someone else hit the IL last. Oh, Mookie Betts hit the IL, which affects another team of mine. But I'm like, what in the hell? The only reason why I did pick up Frazier in that league this morning because I'm doing the math and I'm like, I would like to have a healthy bat when we hit the playoffs. Mike Trout is going for another look at his damn calf again. This dude may not play again this year. And so I had to look at that. And I was like, I like having that extra bat. I do. And I was like, well, I got so many dudes on the IL that are supposed to be coming off pitching wise that when you start doing the math, is this guy really going to be on your roster down the road? Hell no. So that's kind of how I looked at it. But you've got a decent chance to beat me this week because like I said, I don't lay down for anybody, but I'm not going to destroy my roster to try to win one game when I've now got, let me look at this league. 13-2. The closest guy to me is 10-5, and I've outscored him by 1,100 points. So for all intents and purposes, I have a 4-game lead on him.
Yeah.
And we have what I think this one. I noticed the other day. I thought they all went to the playoffs at the same time. I go, oh man, I screwed this one up. This one goes to the playoffs after week 21. And I think most of the others go to the playoffs after week 20.
Yes.
So that's a concern. I was like, why did I do that, man? I thought they were all on the same freaking thing, wavelength. But anyways, what say you as far as year long? You got any guys out there that you're interested in?
Overall, like I said, it's more, and I'm really speaking about the dynasty league. Certain people I picked up, I'm just going to hang on forever because I'm so glad I have them. Like we talked about earlier with Louis Garcia, how he's become a really good pitcher, a really good fantasy pick. That's somebody I'm glad I have, and he'll be on my team until he proves me wrong. I'll tell you another player that I have in a lot of leagues who I was really surprised by, and I'm going to hang on to him no matter what, is Mitch Haniger. What a great season he's had, fantasy and just on the ball field. And that's another one I'm going to hang on to for a long time too. He's really come into his own.
That's interesting because Haniger, I've had him on a few teams, but I don't think I have him on any of my teams. I have 7 fantasy teams. I don't believe I have him this year, and I haven't really paid attention to. I've noticed he's highly ranked, but you're saying that he's going to be one of the guys that you keep.
That's somebody I'm going to keep. I mean, he just really proved himself to be a consistent hitter. Whatever he did before he went to.
He's an absolute pure. I mean, he is a pure hitter, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and he's really proved it this season. I could see a season or two ago, it's just somebody you didn't pick or you just had to pick. But now I think it's somebody that you should have on your team.
That's interesting. A guy that would be on my team next year that I did not expect to be on my team. Let me look at that roster real quick because I'll say, and this is the dynasty league, not the rotisserie dynasty, because rotisserie dynasty you keep 25, so you're keeping just about everybody. A guy that I may keep that I wouldn't have thought I would have kept, or I'll tell you what, a guy that I typically keep that I know I'm not going to keep, I don't think I will unless terrible injuries hit my roster, would be Mondesi of Kansas City. He's played 10 damn games this year.
Yeah.
When I looked at the rest of my roster, I was looking at it last night, the day before. I was like, will you really keep this guy? Like, I mean, other than the fact that if a bunch of terrible injuries happen in the offseason, then maybe. Like, this dude is never on the field, and I'm not going to gut my pitching staff, which has kept me relevant. I've got so many good pitchers, and then I've got to keep a core of hitters, and he's not one of them. When he's on the field, man, he does great. I get that. But that dude is brittle, and I've already got Fernando Tatis to play shortstop, so I don't need him.
Yep.
And I'll tell you a guy I never would have thought I'd be keeping because I didn't think he'd be on my roster is when whoever it was that dropped Jose Altuve early in the year. And he has played incredible. There's going to be that year where he's just gotten too old, but 23 home runs already.
Huh?
So you got to figure he'll finish with around 30, probably around 80-ish RBI, hitting around the 280 clip. I'll take that all day from a second baseman.
Look, I'm grateful somebody dropped Carlos Correa.
Idiots.
Because Correa's season is on par to what he's had in the past.
Idiots.
That's another one in the Dynasty League I'll keep. His numbers are
That's one of those ones that I saw out there, and I was like, well, what can I do with that? I was like, I've got Tatis.
Yeah.
I got this idiot Mondesi. And there was someone else and Marcus Semien can play shortstop. I was like, man, Correa's good, but I don't have room for him per se, which sounds crazy late. But if he had another position, I'd been jumping off. In other words, if he could play short and like outfield, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's go. Short and third base. Hell yeah, let's go. I need some depth. I'll tell you a guy who I never thought would be. This is what I never thought. I never thought I'd be sitting here in almost August, Doug, and I've got 2 Detroit Tigers starting in my batting order on a team that's leading the league in points.
Yep.
I've got Scope has been doing it for a minute. He's just solid. You're not going to drop a really good player for him. You're not going to go out there and go, well, To hell with you, Freddie Freeman. I got to pick up scope. No, but if I was looking for some consistency as a utility player that I can slide in and out, and he's been solid.
Yeah.
And then I finally dropped the alphabet yesterday or the day before. That's why I call the kid the catcher from Texas, Ifel Fawful Nawful, whatever his name was. Because I looked, so he started out, he had a great first half of the season, but I've looked at his last 30 to 40 games. It's been putrid. He's a weak hitting. He's got 6 home runs. He hit 4 of them in the first month.
Yeah.
And so I started looking. I was like, you haven't been paying attention to this because you've been winning, getting points from other guys, but this guy doesn't score very much. I mean, he's out there getting like 15 points a week, maybe. So I went and I picked up that freaking Eric Haas kid, the catcher for Detroit, and he can double as an outfielder, but I'm never gonna like load up on catchers and this guy's gonna be my outfielder. But he's been putting some production. I was like, you know what, I could do worse. Screw it. Come on, Tigers, don't let me down. Tiger lineup going into the playoffs. The hell's going on around here? Let's go ahead and dive into the fantasy football. We're doing wide receivers today. Yep. Hopefully Doug actually has a list as opposed to.
Yes, I actually do.
All right. I'm proud of you. So let's go.
I know you would be.
So let's go ahead and hear your list.
All right. My top 10 goes, not a lot of surprises, but Tyreek Hill.
He's your number one?
Yeah. Until somebody proves otherwise in that offense, he's got to be number one.
Okay.
Then I got DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay.
Then I have Stephon Diggs at number 3.
All right.
Then I have at number 4, I've got Devontae Adams.
Okay. And I'm assuming you have him down because your concerns with Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I get that.
Then DK Metcalf.
Okay. A little higher than a lot of people have him.
Justin Jefferson. And
All
Justin
right.
Jefferson, I'm high on him this season. I love that guy.
Okay.
Then I got Mike Evans at 7.
All right.
Then I have Keenan Allen at 8. AJ Brown at number 9. And Calvin Ridley conservatively at 10.
That's funny you say that's exactly where I have Ridley.
Yeah.
And I know he's averaging to be up around like number 5 in a lot of people's lists.
Well,
my concern with him is he's never been the number 1 in the National Football League.
No.
And how will he accept that role? And let's be honest, he's been a little brittle over his career. So I'm a little concerned with that across the board. But here's my list real quick. I've got Devontae Adams is my number 1. That's with or without Rodgers, mainly because even if it's Love and even if he's not that good, who the hell else does he have to throw to? Adams is so good. He is a professional. He is what I would consider the best wide receiver in the game, but I am concerned with no Aaron Rodgers. So I will give you that. But I have a hard time passing him because every time I don't have him on my team, I look and go, man, what the hell? I'm going up against Adams again today. And so I just think he's just too damn consistent. But no Aaron Rodgers does worry the hell out of me. The hope would be if they trade Aaron Rodgers next week, they trade Devontae Adams with them. Like, trade him to whoever the hell and say, we want your first round picks for the next 30 years. Tyreek Hill is my number 2. It's hard to put the cheetah down very low. It really is. You worry about him getting lost in the bulk of other players throughout the season, but consistently he's just too good. I got Metcalf as my number 3, and I'm just betting on his ability, his size. Nothing says that he should be the number 3. I'm just going off of what he could do. what he's able to do. Justin Jefferson's my number 4. I'm with you, man. I think it's huge. I think he's going to be very good this year. He should be, at least. And then Stephon Diggs is my number 5. And I know everyone's like, where the hell is DeAndre Hopkins? He didn't really do anything last year. He was kind of a bust. But I'd be willing to, because I had him in a couple leagues, and I remember there were day after game after game. I'd have to go to the actual game log where I was disappointed that I had D-Hop. But his talent should, in the year 2, should be there. But my biggest concern was that tweet that he put out a few days ago where he said he was quitting because he didn't want to take the vaccine shot, and then he took it back down. And so is his head in this? And that's my biggest concern. Now this is today, when by the time we get to the draft, D-Hop could be my number 1 receiver. But I just that's a concern for me. Number 7, I don't believe you mentioned him, Allen Robinson. I've got Allen Robinson there, and the reason being is I think the sky's the limit with Justin Fields under center. I think he's going to force it to him. I don't necessarily think Justin Center is going to be the greatest quarterback to ever walk the earth, but I do think he's going to be better than what we originally thought back in January, that it was going to be the Andy Dalton show. And so I've got him higher. And here's a guy that I think is sliding out of people's top 10, but I think he's going to go big, because with the addition of Brian Fitzpatrick, McLaurin, I think McLaurin's going to have a good year. He's a guy that's disappointed, but he was disappointing because he had freaking Haskins at quarterback, and he had 78-year-old Alex Smith at quarterback. He's going to have a guy who likes to sling it, a gunslinger behind center. I believe he's the starter. I would be shocked if he's not. They might put that kid under center that started the playoff game against the Bucks, but I still think that they would like to see some maturation and grooming, and Fitzpatrick is perfect for that. Number 9 is AJ Brown, and number 10 is Ridley. AJ Brown concerns me because with Julio Jones there, you would assume that AJ Brown gets less coverage, but they may be more focused on him. And who does Tannehill end up gelling with? And so that part really concerns me. You get a veteran quarterback with a veteran receiver, they might have more eye to eye than, because AJ Brown was disappointing as hell last year.
Mm-hmm.
I had him in a couple of our keeper leagues. And I was kicking myself in the ass for keeping him. What say you? Final thoughts on that before we run out of here?
My final thought of the day, you guys, I'm sure you talked about it, but I just wanted to congratulate the Milwaukee Bucks on winning the NBA championship. That was a big deal for me personally. So
congratulations. And now we can get to real sports.
Okay.
Now we can get that crap out of the way. Let's get to the
I think the only other thought I had today is that helmet sitting, I guess it would be to my right. The fact that the SEC is entertaining getting Texas and Oklahoma.
That's right. I don't know if people can read that, but that basically says hook 'em horns. I don't know if you can read that. Anyways,
I can, but I'm just saying that's a big deal.
It is. We talked about that in the first hour on where we think all the guys are going. So if people missed it, you might want to tune into that, rewind and listen to it, because Justin and I kind of broke down where we think they'll put them in the SEC, and then also what that does with all the other teams. I put different teams in different conferences, but I don't have time to get into that because it's time.
The only person who's going to weep at the whole thing is Texas A&M is not going to like it at all.
Right. And we touched on that as well.
Okay. Okay.
So like I said, if we had more time, I'd love to talk about it, but we're running out. And at the top of this hour, we're going live with the Catbird seat, Red Sox and Yankees and Rays. And David's gonna be sitting there grinning, and Angela's gonna be sitting there bumming, and I'm gonna sit here as a race fan going da, 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 da. All right. All right, it's time to turn back time and get the hell on out of y'all. All right, on this date in 1948, the Phillies, who were 5 games under 500, named Eddie Sawyer to replace interim manager Dusty Cook, who had filled the position when the team fired Ben Chapman earlier in the month. The former skipper of the AAA League's Toronto Maple Leafs will get off to a poor start, posting a 23-40 win-loss record in his first year at the helm, before leading the Philadelphia Whiz Kids to the NL pennant in 1950. One of the most famous teams in all the Northeast. They never really did a whole hell of a lot, but you'll always hear them talk about the Whiz Kids, and that was essentially the beginning of the Whiz Kids. All right, birthdays.
It's your birthday today. What does that mean?
Happy birthday to Sam Jones, who passed away in 1966. Who was Sam Jones? He was a hell of a baseball player, played for the Cleveland Indians. I mean Guardians. What a bunch of stupid crap that is. And although I will say this, the first time you hear a team's moniker, it's very rarely people like this is great. Happy birthday. Lord have mercy. Is she really 65 years old today? Is that math right? Yeah, 65 years old today. Dorothy Hamill, speaking of the Olympics. Bet you had a crush on Dorothy Hamill, didn't you, Doug?
Oh, yeah, you bet.
She was a little before my time. She won the Olympic gold in 1976. For people like, who the hell is Dorothy Hamill? If you don't know who Dorothy Hamill is, you're an idiot. Because she sparked from the late 70s into the early 80s what they called the Dorothy Hamill haircut. And it was kind of a short bob type of haircut. Not quite a page boy, but essentially that's what it was. And that the Dorothy Hamill cut was a viral haircut before Monica and Rachel on Friends haircut influenced people. That would be my thing. What's your walk off for the day?
My walk off, like I said, I know we talked about it nauseum, but I'll tell you what my walk off is. Can everybody see me? No more ghetto vision. That's my walk off of the day.
Yeah, man, it actually looks good. Now, if we can get some kind of light like behind your camera to actually, where we see your full face instead of, half your face, because
all things in time. Let's not push it.
You do this and you do that. We see that natural light that you have coming out of your window. This is a pro tip. Next time, face the window with the camera behind the window. The natural light, they always say, is the best light. If I could do natural light in here, I would do it. But the way my studio is set up, I can't have natural light. But they always say natural light is the best one to come in. Anyways, my walk off for the day, doubleheader, Mets Braves, can't wait. 5:00. Braves have got to win this series. The worst case scenario they can do is lose 3 of 5. If the Mets win the series, it's not over, but it's not looking good because you're then 6 games out with 60 to play. That's a tall task, but it can be done. But if they go out there and lay an egg, lose 4 out of 5, or good Lord, get swept, sell on Friday. But anything else, I say the Braves will make minimal ads. It won't be anything ground shaking. They've already done what they wanted to do, which was add a catcher. Darno should be back in a few weeks, so that'll add another catcher. They'll get Inoa back. That's going to strengthen their pitching. They're going to look for a bullpen piece. That's it. That's all Atlanta. I would love to see one of these big hitters come Atlanta's way, but it's not going to happen. They're not going to take a risk. I wouldn't think they're not going to, because the biggest thing is they're not going to unload all these prospects. I want Joey Gallo and Ian Kennedy to come from Texas to Atlanta, but I don't think that's going to happen. We will see y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow we got some football teams that we're going to be doing the predictions on, and I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to misquote myself, but we'll have Justin and Bobby, and we got a great week ahead of you. Doug, we'll see you next Monday. Yep. And good luck in your fantasy league because you're going to need it, son. We'll see you.
See you.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette.